5. Chemistry was the first paper on the schedule. I had done reasonably well, and the feeling of relief that followed gave me a ravenous appetite. As always, I had been too nervous that morning to eat anything, and had sat through my exam on an empty stomach. I was looking forward to a hearty meal, but the detour I had to take emaciated me further. Famished, I reached home to find a commotion of people outside our kosher. My heart sank. Was someone hit by a bullet? Who could it be? Was father injured at the shop? Was mother hit by a grenade shell or a shrapnel? As these thoughts came to my mind, my throat tightened, as if I was being strangled. I could barely breathe. I inched towards our house with wobbly knees. The main wooden door was open. A couple of shopkeepers from the neighborhood were coming out of the house as I floated in, bewildered. Sajida, our elderly next-door neighbor, and the keeper of the most secrets in the neighborhood, was descending the stairs as I slowly climbed up. Go. Have one last look at your grandmother. As Sajida uttered those words, for a brief second, all I could see around me was blackness. The turquoise shawl she had wrapped around her head disappeared. The darkness was followed up by a sharp pain in my belly. I got my period, which lasted less than a day. In the corridor, I heard father's voice say, "How am I to take the responsibility of so many curfew passes? What if they shoot someone?" They were trying to decide if they should bury Bob that very night or on the following day. Father seemed adamant about everyone's safety. He declared that the burial was to be postponed by a night. Father, mother, Ramzan Kak, and Poptert, an aunt of mine who had come to pay Bob a visit, stayed up all night in the living room as some of the neighbors left. They spent the long hours praying for her. I didn't pray. I felt numb and then restless. That night, too, the room was dimly lit. Mother had arranged blankets under which everyone could sit through the night. Ramzan Kak readied kerosene lamps and lined them by the door. Everyone had a booklet of Quran that they were reciting verses from. Had the body of Bob not been lying in the corner where she'd usually sit, it could pass off as the night of atonement or Shab-e-Barat, when all of us stayed up the whole night to pray. The room was humming, but a strange silence befell the corner Bob was lying in. The heavy soundlessness of that corner was more overwhelming than the unease the silence of the dawn to dusk curfew brought on. I sat in another corner of the room, staring at Bob's still hands and her long, delicate fingers. There was a night when Bob looked close to how she looked after passing, pale, silent, and stiffened. It was on the eve of Eid in 1989, the Eid that set a precedence for future ones to come. That Eid Eve, as a 12-year-old girl, I decided unwittingly to never participate in festivities again. In fact, from then on, I began associating inexplicable melancholy with Eid, and the heaviness that settled on the heart that day sank deeper each year. Before 1989, my anticipation of the festivities on the eve of Eid usually surpassed the excitement I felt during the festival itself. There was an eagerness to wear new clothes, along with matching shoes and fashionable accessories. The rich, spicy aromas that wafted from every kitchen in the neighborhood suffused not just the individual courtyards, but the entire mesh of interconnected narrow streets. The menu at our house was carefully selected. Mother would cook some of the dishes herself, while the rest were ordered from Ashraf Waz, the renowned chef of our area. Father would sit quietly in a corner of the living room, away from his usual spot. With his back towards the door, he'd stealthily count the crisp currency notes that he'd distribute among his sisters and their children as Eidi the next day. The whole evening would be punctuated with the sound of the main door being opened and shut by my sister, Hina, who'd invariably have to go out for her last-minute visits to the tailor and the salon.